Welcome everyone. The webinar will begin shortly and will be recorded. Connect with the Campaign for Grade Level Reading on social media. On Facebook, like the page Campaign for GLR, and on Twitter, follow the account @ReadingByThird. Please use hashtag Learning Tuesdays and tag us to tweet anything you learn from today's webinar, and we'll be sure to retweet. We encourage you to share your questions, reflections, and observations on social media. Once again, the campaign would love to connect with you. So on Facebook, like the page Campaign for GLR, and on Twitter, follow the account @ReadingByThird. The webinar will begin shortly and it will be recorded and shared with you afterwards. Okay, once again, welcome to today's webinar. My name is Sierra Sanchez and I will be behind the scenes helping to produce this webinar. I have just a few housekeeping details before we get started. First, we would love for you to introduce yourself, so please use the chat box at the bottom of the screen to share your name, city or state, and your organization. Be sure to select panelists and attendees when sharing so that we all know who is here. All attendees are in listen-only mode, but we encourage your engagement by posting questions in the Q&A box. We will dedicate the last 20 to 30 minutes of the webinar to respond to the questions you post during the discussion. This webinar is being recorded and a link to the recording will be emailed to Friday to all who registered. And we are streaming the webinar on Facebook Live as well. Lastly, we will be posting a brief on-screen evaluation during Q&A and highly encourage you to respond. This helps us with our commitment to continuous improvement. Lastly, before we start, I would just like to call your attention to our upcoming GLR Learning Tuesdays webinars. Later today, and I'm sorry we forgot to add that into this slide, but later today we do have a webinar at 3 p.m., which we hope that you will come back and join us for. I would also like to mention that next Tuesday, we do have a double header, starting with a funder to funder conversation in the 12:30 p.m. Eastern time slot. This session builds on a funder conversation last December focused on what it would take to end child poverty and will serve as an extension of the discussion later on today on the American Rescue Plan. Later that afternoon in the 3 p.m. time slot, we will look at yet another slice of the American Rescue Plan with a focus on investments in the after-school and summer space. Lastly, on Tuesday, April 27th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, in partnership with EdWeek, we will bring experts together to talk about the impact of learning loss on the K-3 classroom and how we must support educators to manage the challenges while embracing the opportunities. We'll be sure to add links in the chat box for more information and registration for these upcoming learning opportunities. Joining you now is Jenny Atkinson with the Campaign for Grade Level Reading. Thank you and enjoy the webinar.
Thank you so much, Sierra. And I'd like to welcome all of you to today's Crucible of Practice Salon. If you've joined us for one of our past Crucible of Practice webinars, you know that our goal is to provide a deep dive exploration into how community coalitions are approaching and moving the work to improve the early school success prospects of children from economically challenged families, neighborhoods, and communities. With over 300 communities participating in the Campaign for Grade Level Reading Network, we know that many of the challenges one community faces have been solved in other communities. Opportunities like this webinar give us a chance to learn from and with each other so we can use proven strategies that have worked on the ground in other places to help deepen, broaden, and accelerate the work each of us is doing in our own communities. If you've missed any of our past webinars, I encourage you to take some time to go back and listen to the recordings. You'll learn more about not only what these other communities are doing, but how they're working to move the needle on grade level reading for children in their communities. I'll put the link to the recordings in the chat. Today, I'm thrilled that we will be hearing from representatives of Story County Reads in Story County, Iowa, talk about their work. First, I'd like to introduce our moderator and presenter, Malai Amfar. Malai has over 18 years of experience working in advocacy and program management, serving children and youth. She joined the team at the United Way of Story County in 2017, where she oversees Story County Reads, the Story County Reads Coalition that's associated with the National Campaign for Grade Level Reading. Her primary area of work involves leading teams using systems thinking and the collective impact model, analyzing programs implemented by partners, community and coalition building, public speaking, youth engagement, and volunteer management. Malai is the co-chair of the Early Childhood Iowa's Equity Advisory Committee, where she leads a state-level team ensuring equity guiding principles are infused across the greater network. She's also a member of the Mid-Iowa Health Foundation's Health Connect Fellowship, where she's concentrating on a project involving equity in education. Malai has facilitated workshops and conducted presentations at national, state, and local conferences through NeighborWorks America, the Iowa Campaign for Grade Level Reading, Iowa After School Alliance, Early Childhood Iowa, Iowa Association for the Education of Young Children, Iowa State University, and the United Way of Story County. Malai is a very active member of the Campaign for Grade Level Reading Network, and we're always grateful for her willingness to contribute and share. Welcome, Malai.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Our team is so thrilled to be here this afternoon and share with everybody how we really work together to support early childhood as a key component of our campaign. Next slide, please. Next slide. So we thought that a setting for our story would be in order first for participants to really have an understanding of where it is that we do our work. So Story County is located in the center of our state. It's about 30 miles north of our state's capital. So we are actually in a different county than Polk, which is where Des Moines is located. Story County encompasses a very diverse mix of populations, including one urban population in Ames, Iowa, where Iowa State University is centered. And then we have 6 rural school districts that we're also working alongside. So as you can imagine, we have diverse needs of both youth and families and children. So our methodologies are very centered on the person, very person-centered and youth-centered. As you can see, the makeup of our demographics as well, we have a very large population of children that are age 0 to 5, almost as much actually as our elementary school age, which is why we place so much focus on the early childhood component. Next slide, please. Pieces of our work are very critical, and one of those pieces would be collaboration. We use this collective impact model to really bring folks together around this common agenda of wanting to ensure that children are able to read by the end of 3rd grade. So those pieces that we have with relationships include city staff. We have a very large representation of education in both our school districts in Iowa State, but also our public libraries. Ames Public Library in particular has been a very strong partner in this work throughout. We also have representation on our teams by other nonprofits that are youth serving and child focused. Healthcare providers, we do also encompass work alongside volunteers from our local businesses. They provide critical components of being able to do some of that direct work. We also have great connections with philanthropy. So our connections with our funders, very critical, not just United Way of Story County is the backbone agency, but also our community foundations, ECI as a funder, which you'll hear about in a bit, and our asset process of how we delegate funding for programs and services. Each player within this system in our network is linked together, building the strong foundation and fabric for our shared agenda. Next slide, please. So these are the common questions that really brought us together. We asked these questions way back in 2010, 2011, when our campaign was really starting to gear up. These questions really frame out our work, and they still remain true, even as we're in 2021. Are we supporting all kids and eliminating barriers to success? That is an equity-based question that we ask ourselves daily. Are children ready for school when they enter kindergarten? Of course, this question, answering this question and asking it of ourselves is how we frame out our early childhood work. Are children able to read at grade level by the end of 3rd grade? Of course, as the Campaign for Grade Level Reading, this is our most important question, right? This is like our end goal. And also understanding why children are not attending school regularly. What is the key component there with school attendance where we need to bolster the work? Do kids have support to maintain their health, especially in early childhood and over the summer? That health component is really critical. In order to be able to learn, children have to be healthy, they have to be fed, their bellies need to be full. And so we do ask that question as well. And the last question, do kids have learning opportunities during the summer and after school to bolster what they're learning during the school day? Next slide, please. So this is our quest. This is the arc of our story that we're sharing with everybody today. These questions really began in community conversations held in late 2011. The Hunger Collaboration is really that group where much of our work is focused. Hunger Collaboration is one of our local teams that meets together to really understand where the needs are for food shortages in our county or community. It was actually through these questions that came out our interest in joining the campaign for grade level reading. It was actually a perfect storm of events. And at that time, we joined the campaign under the heading of Ames Reads. It was very community specific. As our programs grew and our understanding of how United Way could be a key component of this, we saw that many of our providers were providing services outside of one community, just as United Way is providing funding for services outside of the Ames area. And so it was in 2017 that we really wanted to see what would it look like if we took this Ames Reads model with the campaign for grade level reading and broaden it to be a county-wide focus. So in 2017, we opened it up and we became Story County Reads. This then launched lots of things that have been in progress and are continuing to be in progress now. We have a new CSAP, and actually we're starting to revise it once again. In 2018, we launched a completely new CSAP that encompassed things in a county-wide perspective. We also began to understand how to work alongside other grade level reading communities in Iowa with the help of Becky Miles Polka, our state lead. In 2020, COVID hit. I think it derailed everybody's process. Certainly in terms of education, we are now starting to understand what we need to do to pull together, to be supportive with children's learning loss and this idea of recovering and reimagining what things will look like. So as I previously mentioned, our CSAP is now once again in process, and we are writing into it strategies which will help us recover from COVID as a direct response for education. Next slide, please. So today we are going to focus on our early childhood component. Just know that we do have other subcommittees that are working in Story County Reads, primarily in out of school learning and summer learning. That's a whole separate team, but we have many of those same players in our early childhood team. We're focusing today on early childhood because it is the foundation for which all of our work lies. Our early childhood partners are quite diverse, as you'll see from the list. And today in our presentation, we'll be hearing from us just a segment of some of these partners so that we can get a full understanding of what it looks like to work within our collaboration. Next slide, please. So before we do that, we did want to share a little nod to the Early Learning Nation cohort, which we did join early 2020 is when this work really started to kick off. So in 2020, that's when we were starting to do things virtually, and just know that this process really helped us to realign the goals that we were wanting to do and launched us into a full steam ahead launch of our new CSAP. The Early Learning Nation cohort, which was shepherded by Jenny from the campaign for grade level reading, included some other members of the national campaign. And we were utilizing a tool, a virtual tool, to be able to understand how can we tap into those concepts, these 4 concepts that you see on the screen, to really rebuild what our early childhood work looks like. I'm excited to report that all of the strategies that have been formalized with Jenny's help, with the Early Learning Nation team, with their help, we are looking at that process and wanting to do that again with our out of school learning focus, and also with revisioning of our new CSAP. So this is a new approach for a new normal. I say new approach because I believe that we will be leveraging the idea of using this through virtual platforming. I use things like Jamboard. I used other tools as well so that we could have those meetings and get voice from other parts of our community that wouldn't ordinarily be able to participate in things in a face-to-face meeting. And so I'm just really excited to be able to use the lessons learned from this process and move it forward and pushing it out to our whole entire campaign. Next slide, please. So to understand what our early childhood work looks like, you have to understand that in Iowa, our Early Childhood Iowa network encompasses a really broad reach of stakeholders and partners. So the visual that you're seeing on the screen are all of these different components that make up Early Childhood Iowa. This truly does set the stage for all of the work that we do within our communities. So ECI, or Early Childhood Iowa, is a very structured model. We are led by 2 employees, but then there are also many other people that play into this. So within ECI, we have components including early learning, which is where the literacy, language, and development pieces fall in. We also have healthcare providers that are pulling into that, workforce and professional development for people that are working within the early childhood space. We have many community members that are a part of this, and family engagement and support. As Jenny was doing my introduction, there is also an equity advisory committee, which infuses equity principles throughout each of these components, and that is ECI. ECI is a gigantic animal, a big systems approach to ensure that all of the children in our state are really cared for and nurtured in terms of growth and learning and well-being. Next slide, please. So our assets today that we're going to be talking with are a few of our players or characters in the team. Critical to any amazing story would be these 6 individuals who really do a bulk of our early childhood work. And so I'm excited to have them share in pieces what their work looks like and how we work together. Next slide, please. So in chapter 1, we're going to start here with key support from state and local stakeholders, which include our Early Childhood Iowa local board. Our board director, Nikki, will be presenting a little piece of what it is that she does through Boost Together for Children. And then we'll also be hearing from Dr. Beecher, who's a representative of Iowa State University. Next slide, please. So I would like to introduce Nikki first. Nikki will be sharing with us what ECI is and how she manages it, and what ECI, the board, does, how that fits into the overall framework. So Nikki, can you please share with us how the local ECI network works together and fits into the overall frame for ECI?
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much, Malai. And thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm excited to share what it is that we do here in Iowa and what the local board specifically gets to do. So ECI as a whole is a statewide initiative. We do have the governor and our legislators, you know, a big part. They are at the top of our pyramid, and that does trickle down to our ECI state board, which has several different components. You know, like Malai said, there are a lot of pieces that go into this puzzle. We also then trickle down to the ECI boards, which is where my involvement comes in. With this, there are 38 ECI directors. So each one of us usually does have a few counties. So not only do I support Story County, but I also support Boone County. And so then when, you know, those 38 directors are over those 99 counties in Iowa. So as you can see on the next slide, the ECI board is where I kind of come into play. So I'm a one-person office, and I receive the funds that the state has allotted to me, and I work with my board. Everybody on my board, you will see as a volunteer. They don't get paid, but they are very passionate, and I am very thankful for them. We do align with the state's strategic plan, and we actually make our own community plan. You know, the state board has a very wide perspective, and we are able to kind of narrow that down into our local communities and what's going on. Next slide, please. So in our own community, so I'm at Boone and Story, we actually, our nonprofit is Boost Together for Children. And so that is what I oversee. Our vision is just to have, you know, children that are healthy, children that are ready for school. We, you know, want to make sure that they are ready for kindergarten. The childcare environments are very secure and nurturing. Families receive that secure and nurturing programming, and then the community is safe and supportive. Next slide. So what that looks like is all of those visions that we see, we work with several different partners, and you can see some of them on the right of your screen. And those are just a very small portion of the partners that we work with to help do like home visits with the parents as teachers and the healthy futures that you will see with LSI and YSS. We also help with the preschool scholarships, you know, to help with those children to get them onto kindergarten. But there are also, you know, just several other components, and all of the funds are ran through the board and, you know, out to the communities. Next slide. And so lastly, I just kind of want to show, you know, we do have between 10 and 17 board members at any time. We actually had 2 new board members last night at the board meeting, and they are all volunteer. They do work very hard to help ensure that Story and Boone County and the children and families are provided the best programs. So.
Thank you, Nikki. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing all that ECI does for us. Obviously, a big piece of that work that we do alongside the state is critical component to our local campaign. Next slide, please. At this point, I would like to just take a moment and introduce Dr. Beecher. One of our major assets within our Story County Reads campaign is Iowa State University, located in Ames, Iowa, which is the hub of our campaign. We work with Iowa State to cultivate not only volunteers in our direct programs, which I did mention. Students at Iowa State play a major role in supporting much of our work. Iowa State also provides some technical capacity building. Our new data exchange system, which we'll be launching soon with Dr. Beecher's help, is a piece of that. Iowa State supports all of our literacy initiatives as well within the School of Education. A true gem in this work is Dr. Connie Beecher, and I'm excited to introduce her at this moment. She is a major contributor to several of our initiatives and works alongside many of our partners in her work. Dr. Beecher, can you please share more about your engagement with this work and a little bit more about what community outreach and engagement is within School of Education?
Thank you, Malai. Great to be with you all this afternoon. So I'm going to talk about my position as a faculty member in the School of Education includes both sort of traditional faculty functions, but I also have an extension and outreach appointment. And what that means is part of my job responsibilities are to work with communities in a partnership to solve problems and integrate science with practice. And so that outreach and engagement is really a powerful way to bring about environmental and behavioral changes that will improve the health of the community and its members. So it often involves partnerships and coalitions like the one I have with Story County Reads. And those serve as Malai mentioned, to help mobilize resources, to catalyst toward changing policies, to implementing programs and practices. And so this picture sort of illustrates here, my job involves bringing the research of the university into the public and also the needs of the public back to the university. It's a two-way street, really. Next slide, please. So when I came to Iowa State University to start my position, one of the first things I did was meet with local community partners and find out, what were the big dreams and the big goals that we needed to work around. And really our partnerships form around those missions and goals. So one thing that's really difficult working with universities is the amount of communication and planning that needs to happen. And of course, that difficulty is multiplied by distance. So one of the things that's great about being here in Story County is it's almost my little lab partner in that I work with this community on things, but I also work with other communities and take to them strategies that have worked in this community. The other thing that's great about the extension and outreach system at land-grant universities is that we're spread throughout the state. So every county in Iowa has an extension and outreach office. And so what that means is I have a local partner in each community. So when we're doing work, we have that person on the ground. So not only do I work with this group in Story County, but I work with other grade level communities across the state. So next slide. And a little bit about what that research side looks like. So traditional research doesn't necessarily fit well into the community context. And so a lot of my research is design-based. And what that is a systematic methodology, but it's flexible in that we can improve educational practices through iterative design, implementation, data collection, and analysis while we are implementing programs and practices, and then we are improving as a part of that cycle. So this is a pragmatic kind of inquiry where, you know, the work that we do is based not on claims to truth, but the ability to do work in the world. That's what our goal is. And so even though I have traditional scholarship requirements that I meet with my job, the scholarship is a really broad definition, you know, so it's not just my job to write research articles, but it's my job to create products in a way that can be used by communities to solve problems. Next slide. So here's an example we're going to be talking about today of a project. The early childhood community in Story County really wanted to address strengthening the birth to 3 age range, and they wanted a really robust program, and they wanted some very concrete, quantifiable outcomes. And so when we met together, Raising Readers and United Way and Ames Public Library, we were looking at the Lena Research Foundation. Some of you might be familiar with, but they have a technology that you can think about as a talk pedometer. So it's a specially designed digital recorder that the child wears, and it reports the number of adult words and conversational turns that the child hears throughout the day. And we use that to help families to improve their talking and reading with their children. So because I had a research relationship with the Lena Foundation, we were able to do a pilot study of their curriculum. And so what that meant for our group, as I like to say, lots of sticky notes, but we planned together, we created a logic model, we applied for funding, and then when we were lucky enough to receive that, we did the implementation together. So the whole process from beginning to end was a partnership. Next slide. So this type of university community partnership is really beneficial for all involved. Because research happens in the setting where the practices take place with the ultimate users of the evidence-based practices or education, this sort of historic lack of uptake with intervention can be avoided because the people who are going to be delivering the programs are involved in the process from the beginning. And so we really, reject research to practice, and we turn it into research with practice. And we expand that definition of research to the scholarship of community engagement. So it encompasses, as Malai mentioned, many activities that we do together where we're both involved in those learning goals.
Thank you, Connie. We so appreciate your knowledge and all of your support through all of our programs that extend in the early childhood network, but then also our school age programs as well. So as Connie mentioned, community engagement being a key component of this work. So community engagement also includes our providers. Next slide, please. So of course, chapter 2 in our story, in our narrative, is learning a little bit more about our provider network and those organizations that work very directly with children and families. We could not make change happen without this set of folks that are about to speak at this moment. So that includes Ames Public Library. It includes MICA with their health-focused programs, Raising Readers, and YSS. And I would be remiss to not also mention our early childhood childcare centers that are also a key component and factor in our early childhood work. Those providers are listed here. We also have many other childcare providers that the slide honestly couldn't handle because we just have a broad reach having a county focus. Next slide, please. So with our provision of services, we're really looking at this whole child approach, which includes things outside of just learning literacy skills or language development. But if we start at the top of the circle, we're also looking at components that include health as very important. So we look at health, family support, social emotional well-being, and then early literacy, as all 4 of these factors are really the center of the whole child approach. So these settings for services of where these things could occur would be in homes with families. So in a bit, we'll hear from Sadie a little bit more about what an in-home program looks like. Virtual programming is now part of our natural world. With the pandemic happening last year, we were able to really pivot and adapt many of our services to a virtual setting. And we learned that sometimes the virtual setting works a little bit better than the face-to-face setting because we're able to engage with many more families than if it were face-to-face, because of that rural component, which makes up our geographic locations. Community-based setting programs are also very important. So that is the face-to-face piece. Within preschools, library settings, centers, including childcare centers, and the sites of the organizations where they might be occurring in the community. Next slide, please. So our team's approach really does go back to those original questions we posed in the beginning of our story, nurturing those connections in the areas of health, family support, social emotional well-being, and developing those early literacy skills. So we're going to hear now from Jessica and from Megan to share a little bit more about what healthy mental development looks like with support from MICA and First Five. So at this moment, I would like to pass the mic to Jessica and Megan. Please share with us about your work with First Five and with MICA and how you support the health component.
Thanks, Malai. So First Five is a public-private partnership bridging primary care providers and public health services in Iowa. The First Five model supports health providers in the earlier detection of social, emotional, and developmental delays, as well as family risk factors in children birth to 5. We coordinate referrals, interventions, and follow-up on behalf of the provider. So all of our work really surrounds that health and development in the first 5 years, and it's done to ensure that when kids do go off to school, they are ready to learn in their environment. So this 4-part model really shows how we do our work. The first step, the primary care provider performs a standardized surveillance or screening tool. This allows the early identification of delays or risk factors in children 0 to 5. And our First Five coordinator works with primary care providers to provide training, consultation, and implementation of these standardized screening tools. Once a concern is identified, you'll see in step 2, all the provider has to do is send 1 referral to First Five. We take it from there. We know providers are busy, and so the primary job of First Five is to really follow up on behalf of the provider and connect children to the early intervention services that they need. You'll see step 3. The First Five family, the First Five developmental support specialists will work with the family and follow up with them on a regular basis. We build relationships with the family. We identify needs, those that the provider identified, but also other needs such as transportation, food, financial concerns. And we really work with families to get them connected to whatever they need. So we kind of use that 2-generation approach. We are providing services to the family and to the child. So we know the child's needs of early interventions services are important, but also the social stressors, caregiver depression, and environmental needs affecting the whole family really have, they play a role in the child's development. And then part 4, the first 5 developmental support specialists follows up with the provider. We're always keeping the referring provider in the loop and notifying them of the status of their patient. So when that patient goes back to the doctor, the provider can follow up appropriately with them, check in on services, see how they're going, and we can adjust their care plan as needed. Next slide.
So like Megan mentioned, there's several reasons why a medical provider would refer to our program. This is just a small comprehensive list. A lot of our referrals are for development, behavior, speech concerns. But like she said, we also get referrals for caregiver depression, family stress, oral health concerns, sometimes childcare needs, and those social stressors as well. Next slide. Typical referrals that we make out, like Megan mentioned earlier, for every one medical referral that we get from the provider, our first 5 developmental support specialist staff usually finds 2 to 3 additional referrals. So those can be for transportation, housing, financial stress, food assistance, a lot of those social determinants of health that we have listed here. A lot of the medical interventions we provide are early intervention and evaluation. Those are with our early access and AEA programs, Child Serve, also developmental delays, speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy, which are also offered by Child Serve and those early access and AEA programs as well. And like I mentioned, the social determinants of health, financial stress, mental health, behavior issues, the parent education programs like Healthy Futures that Sadie will talk about in a little bit. Sometimes just even food assistance, help with getting insurance needs, getting them set up with Medicaid or Hawkeye if needed, Head Start, early Head Start programs, and then just family support. And we really feel like the positive early interventions and experiences are essential for later success in school, the workplace, and the community itself. Services to young children who have or are at risk for developmental delays have been shown to positively impact outcomes across their development, including health, language and communication, cognitive development, and social and emotional development as well.
Thank you, Jessica and Megan, for sharing a little bit more about how we fulfill this health component. So as you can see, a lot goes into thinking about these programs, and where support from medical providers is a very essential piece of how we're building up and lifting up the early childhood areas. Social determinants of health, as we have listed in the next column, really lead into broader questions and broader things that we're wanting to do in order to support families. Next slide, please. It is at this point that I would like to give nod to Sadie, who oversees our early childhood programming through YSS. YSS is a community-based organization with presence in multiple counties in Iowa. We're very fortunate to have them as part of our team. They play a critical role in not only our early childhood work, but also our out of school and summer learning component. We have a whole set of staff from YSS that support us in that work as well with elementary age. Sadie and her team really do a lot of that family engagement, working alongside families and parents of very young children. And so it is at this point that I would like to introduce Sadie and have her share a little bit more about those programs that nurture and foster care with family engagement and promote social emotional well-being in the home. Sadie?
Thank you, Malai. Next slide, please. So Healthy Futures is a family support in the home. Healthy Future aims towards supporting healthy pregnancies and healthy children who are ready to succeed in school. We provide our services to prenatal mothers, working with them through their children age of 5. All of my staff are certified family development specialists, and they provide coordinated prenatal and postnatal home visitation services, parenting and child development education, screenings, goal setting, support, and referrals. They also provide ongoing support that is strength-based and solution-focused. This is a nationally recognized training, and it's facilitated services from frontline to support well-being and improve family functioning. Next slide, please. Why home visitation? Some early learning facts. Voluntary home visiting programs work. It has shown that it has improved newborn and maternal health, prevention of child abuse and neglect, improved school readiness, reduced crime and domestic violence, improved family economic self-sufficiency, and it gives greater access to other community supports. Our Healthy Future programs meets the parents and caregivers where they are most comfortable in the environment where children will be exploring and learning about life through the family interactions. Right now, we've been providing our Healthy Future programs virtually for the past year via Zoom or any type of other virtual platform. Participating families receive 2 home visits in the first 3 months of enrollment. After 3 months, families and their family development specialists discuss their level of need for the program. Next slide, please. Parenting education. So Partners for a Healthy Baby, the home visiting curriculum is what we use in our Healthy Futures program. It is known that education equals prevention. And using an evidence-based parenting curriculum, it helps educate parents about their child's developmental stages and provides tools to help them become the best parents they can. Understanding child development helps parents respond appropriately to their child's behavior. It sets realistic expectations that parents might have for the child and reduces the rate of child abuse. Next slide, please. Here are some statistics that we have for you. YSS Healthy Futures program in fiscal year 2020, we served 49 families and 56 children. 71% of children were screened for developmental delays. 100% of pregnant mothers were screened for postpartum depression. 93% of families increased their social support systems. 75% of families improved their knowledge of child development and parenting. And 87% of families improved or maintained their family's functioning, problem solving, and communication.
Thank you, Sadie. I just want to give nod to YSS for a second. These results that were coming back from fiscal year 2020 are really impressive, particularly the 93% of families increasing social support. Because as everyone recalls, we were and still are dealing with a pandemic in 2020. And so the natural thought would be that we would not be able to engage very directly with our families, since many of those services previously were happening in a face-to-face model. YSS was able to shift programming. Actually, Micah was able to do this as well, so that those programs were happening in a virtual setting. Families were still able to get what they were needing, and their direct connection with their direct support specialist, whomever that might be, was still happening. And so our team is just really rallied around being able to meet families where they are and where those needs are, really being able to quickly assess what's necessary and what's needed for children, and being able to meet that need no matter what the setting might be. Next slide, please. It is at this moment that I would like to shift gears a little bit into that early literacy and language development component. So Story County Reads has a major partner and contributor in this area. Raising Readers in Story County is our actually our only nonprofit organization that devotes its entire mission entirely to this concept of language development and literacy skills for children. So I'm happy to introduce Lynn Carey, who is a board member from Raising Readers. Also interesting to note is that Lynn served as our Ames Public Library director for many, many years. And so she has that lens as well in what it was like to operate Ames Public Library as a major supporter of Story County Reads. So she's really a member of our team that has multiple points of view in her experience and work with us. The development of early language and literacy skills is really truly critical component to ensuring children are ready for school, obviously. And so Raising Readers is our primary nonprofit partner in this work. I'm excited to share alongside with Lynn what those things look like. So Lynn, can you please share with everybody a little bit more about how Raising Readers works within the early childhood programs?
Sure. Thank you so much, Malay. It is a pleasure to be here today representing Raising Readers in Story County. As Malay mentioned, I did spend 36 years working at Ames Public Library, and in that role, I was able to witness the birth of both Raising Readers in Story County and Story County Reads. And I experienced firsthand the incredible benefits of being in a community that had such dedicated, passionate organizations working together on literacy issues. In my final years as library director, I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Beecher and being introduced to the latest research on early literacy development. As I've often said, once you see that research, you can't unsee it. I became a zealous convert and even had a moment of considering that the library shift all our efforts to birth to 3. That didn't happen. What we did instead is partner with Dr. Beecher and ISU Extension and Raising Readers to develop the Small Talk program that you've heard about today. Then I retired. What does a retired 0 to 3 literacy development zealot do? In our community, she joins the board of Raising Readers in Story County. Raising Readers was founded 20 years ago by a group of passionate volunteers. In the slide, you see that the mission is to improve language and literacy development in children from birth to age 8 and nurture healthy parent-child relationships. The hidden word that beats in the heart of that mission is every. Our goal is to reach every child in our county. Our focus is on helping parents from the beginning to ensure that their babies get a great start that will lead to success in school and grade level reading by 3rd grade. Even though our organization has grown to include 2 full-time and numerous part-time staff members, along with many, many volunteers, we can't accomplish our goals alone. Next slide, please. Raising Readers has worked hard to identify individuals and organizations within our community and beyond who share the overall mission of helping children thrive. We rely on donations, grants, and partnerships to carry out our mission. In this slide, you see 2 examples. On the left is the very first delivery of books from Raising Readers to Micah to be given to their clients. Each year, we provide thousands of books to be distributed to children from birth to age 8. On the right is a local pediatrician sharing a book provided by Raising Readers with a parent and child. We find local sponsors to underwrite providing a book at every well baby visit in all of our local clinics. In addition to getting books into homes, we provide advocacy, school readiness, and tutoring programs. Next slide, please. A key to our success has been identifying people with passion and tenacity for the cause and harnessing it into action. Some of our partners, such as the Campaign for Grade Level Reading, have helped us learn together to be more effective. In the slide that you see on in this slide, the photo on the left shows our team at Lectio training, which proved to be life-changing for us as an organization. The photo on the right shows cute babies, because who doesn't like looking at cute babies? Actually, those are some of our earliest participants who are now middle schoolers. I like to look at this photo to remind me of the urgency of our efforts. In this field, if you miss your chance with babies and young kids, there is no second chance. Next slide. One thing we learned early on is that there are many options for furthering literacy. We have to be diligent in sticking to our mission and adding value to our partners. A healthy organization needs good policies, practices, and procedures. We need to listen to our clients. If you do these things, then you can be nimble when the world outside tilts. When the pandemic hit, like everyone, we had to pivot quickly to start offering programs virtually. Many of our activities, such as reading corners and in-person work with children and parents, have been put on hold. As Malay said earlier, some of the stretching we've had to do has brought about results that will be keepers, and we've learned more about reducing barriers. Next slide. Transportation is a big barrier in our county. With the move to a virtual world, it was an ideal time to design a home-based program for 0 to 3. Raising Readers created STARS, a virtual program using Lena home curriculum and devices with a trained coach working individually with families to provide education, talking tips, and interpretation of Lena reports. Each week, devices are exchanged and the family receives a free book. We received generous funding for equipment and materials from a longtime champion, the Ames Morning Rotary Club, and a grant from the Lena Foundation. Raising Readers hired a part-time coordinator and parent educator. We continue to reach out to organizations to enhance their existing home visiting programs, and we trained staff from our first partner, Healthy Futures, that you heard from earlier. Other partners have helped with recruitment. As a result, we just finished our first 10-week session serving 8 families. The response has been nothing but positive, with all participants reporting an increase in reading time, new skills learned, and a plan to continue to use what they learned. One parent summed it up: the program was awesome. I cannot overemphasize its benefits. Now I feel more confident that I can support the development of my child. At this point, we are recruiting for our next session. And of course, next slide, we celebrated. We held a virtual graduation party where the families got to meet each other and relish in their accomplishments. A party in a box was delivered to each home in advance and included a graduation hat, a certificate of completion, a free book, a felt board, language activity cards, a room key ring, gift certificates from local businesses, and of course, flyers to help our parents recruit for future sessions. And now we continue on our path, working together to ensure that every child thrives.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I'm stuck on the baby in the hat because I think that is probably the cutest thing I've seen today. So just really to give nod to this idea that this program really made for the in-home setting, but then the way that Raising Readers was able to also pivot, this is the word of the year, right? Pivot and ensure that parents are able to still have those lessons and the skill set within the curriculum to be able to do these things and activities at home. Just really amazing to see what is delivered to the families with the party in the box. So thank you so much. Next slide, please. It is at this point that we turn the page to chapter 3, which as everyone has heard examples of our partners and the very specific programming that they're able to offer. So we have heard from the health component, we've heard from the social emotional well-being, in-home and family support component, and now we've heard from the early literacy and language development component. Putting all of these things together and unsiloing the work has been a key factor in how we're able to move forward with our early childhood work. It's very important to have collaboration because this is what really makes us stronger. So at this point, I would like to have our team members share and answer this question that we do ask ourselves pretty regularly, which is share a bit more about how each of your individual organizations works with partners, whether it be a partner that we've heard from already or another partner, with how we support the whole child model. What are these things that we do together? Please share a bit more about this.
So the Healthy Futures has partnered with Raising Readers to provide the STARS program. So we currently have some participants that are in Healthy Futures that are also receiving the STARS program. Some benefits is that families have more services that support their children.
So for MICA, Healthy Futures provides referrals to MICA for multiple services such as the WIC program, energy assistance, food assistance, our IGDS programs. And then in return, MICA's First 5 program also refers to the Healthy Futures program for that family support component. And we believe this cross collaboration of resources provides the best possible outcome of success for program participants and all their children.
So then I think the next part, Raising Readers and Iowa State University worked together on our Small Talk collaboration. And that was also with the public library and input from other partners. And I think, Malai, is this where we're going to have the video?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a great example. This video that Connie can share a little bit, maybe some context behind the video. We really wanted to bring this forward too, because to be able to hear about a program or how partners collaborate is one thing, but then to be able to see it is something else entirely. So I'll pitch it to you, Connie, to introduce the video.
So this is a video we did about Small Talk. And in the video, I'm really talking about why we focus on literacy so early. So this is a program that is designed for birth to 30 months. It's an intensive parent education program where they, when we were in in-person world, parents came to the library every week for classes. Those recorders that I mentioned, they would bring those recorders in and we would process it, and they would take a new recorder home and they would share together. And you can see, so you'll see in this video examples of some of our participants. And this program too has gone to a virtual session. And honestly, we probably will always keep a virtual option because it has allowed more families to participate if they had difficulty attending the in-person session. So we'll start the video and then let me know if you have any questions.
Who's it? Brown bear. What do you see? Go fish. What do you see? A fish.
So Small Talk is a collaboration between Iowa State University, Extension and Outreach, Ames Public Library, and Raising Readers in Story County. Our goal is to enrich children's early experiences through parent education and community programs. What a lot of adults really, one, they overestimate how much they talk to children. And then two, parents underestimate the importance of talking to infants who don't talk back.
By the time you get to your third year, you're up to 30 minutes of reading a day.
So what parents learn is the importance of talking with and reading to their babies and young children. They learn how babies' brains develop and what the impact of different things that they do on children's brain development is. And then we teach them, some really simple talking and interacting strategies that they can use at home.
Repeat your child's answer and add on to it.
So what we know about children's brain development is that 80% of brain development happens actually between 0 and 3. A lot of parents sometimes wait until you have a child who can sit on your lap before they start reading, but we really encourage, right from birth, actually, you can start reading books to your baby. It's a small digital recorder that the child wears and records the amount of talk that parents direct towards that child. And we use that to give feedback to the parents, but we, in the past, it's really been used for collecting research. Literacy is not just, it's not just the teacher's job, it's not just the parent's job, it's everybody's job in the community. It only helps us as a society to have children be ready to learn and be literate. If we don't have children at kindergarten who are ready to learn, then we have higher rates of special education referrals, and we have low motivation, and we can have behavior problems. And then retention is expensive, and it's costly in terms of dollars and in terms of, children's self-esteem. So if Extension and Outreach wasn't doing it, then it would sort of be left up to each community to sort of do whatever they had the capacity for. And who's gonna be the person saying, what does this community need? If it's not Extension and Outreach, there isn't anybody else who could do that job. And then what I would see is that we'd have some communities where families and kids get this, really good start, and then we have communities where they don't. And that's certainly not the kind of state that we want.
Teacher, what do you see? Teacher, classmate, teacher. Children. What do you see? What do you see? What do you see? What do you see?
Thank you. At this point, I want to just give a second for Dr. Beecher to share a little bit more about what Iowa State Extension and Outreach is, because it's a term that we've referenced multiple times, and it is a little bit separate from the university. So she's wearing a couple of hats here. Connie, can you share a little bit more about what ISU Extension is, please?
Sure. So Iowa State University is a land grant institution. And what that means is they do have a separate extension and outreach mission. So that's supported by the state and the federal government through some legislation. Our goal is really to bring the research of the university to communities. And so that involves working with all of the counties in our state on everything from the type of programs that I do that you see on early literacy, early childhood, extension and outreach encompasses 4-H. Many of you might be familiar with that. Those agriculture services that everybody probably thinks of. But we really are here to support the citizens of our state through the lifespan. So from programs that focus on birth all the way to healthy aging. So it's really a unique organization focused on, the citizens, bringing value to the communities and citizens in our state.
Thank you, Connie. So now maybe folks can understand why we have such a gem in both Iowa State, but then also in Iowa State Extension, because we have programming that is very directed to the well-being of our community, which obviously includes the youngest people in our community, which is that early childhood component. One takeaway too that I just want to uplift from the video is a quote that Dr. Beecher said at the very beginning of the video, which is 80% of brain development happens at age 0 to 3. This is why we center so much of our energy and our work and our collaborations in this early childhood component because of this. This lays out the foundation for so much, and in fact, entirely the rest of our work is rooted here in this idea that the early childhood component is very, very key to being able to move forward and ensuring that pieces are in place for well-being for children, aging into youth, and then into young adulthood. Next slide, please. So here's where we transition into chapter 4. This is the last chapter of our story, our narrative, which lessons learned from 2020. 2020 was an exceptional year, obviously for everyone listening in today, and then everyone here who's participated as a panelist. We were not expecting a pandemic to happen. Obviously, it wasn't in anyone's crystal ball. But I'm so thrilled that our team was able to mobilize and shift focus to ensure that the children that we serve are in the center of everybody's lens in terms of how we shift programming. So at this time, I would like to have some of our team members share a little bit more about these lessons learned from 2020 that we will carry forward into new work. So I'd like to pitch it to Jessica and Megan to share a little bit about the bullet points that are on this particular slide.
So we learned a lot with First Five and adjusting our program throughout the year of 2020 as the pandemic progressed. First Five is a unique program in that we have always connected with families over the phone. We've always had that option, but as our offices closed down and we weren't able to do in-person visits anymore, those phone visits with families really became the nature of how we do our work and how we coordinate services with families and get their children connected to whatever they need. Our connections with healthcare providers changed. Our connections with community partners changed. We had to start navigating this virtual world, utilizing Zoom meetings and all of that to do trainings. Face-to-face meetings were no longer an option for us, and we couldn't be in the clinics anymore. So we were connecting with our community partners to collaborate on our programming, and we were connecting with our providers to provide those consultations virtually during the pandemic. We noticed that our families needed more and more support during the pandemic. Early on, we noticed a rise in the need for employment resources as parents and caregivers were laid off from their jobs. Childcare concerns became more prevalent as children were sent home from school, schools closed down, and parents were struggling with that, and financial concerns. So Story County really stepped up, and we collaborated in many new ways with lots of our partners to deliver programs to families and resources to families to meet their needs. As things went on, we noticed new resources coming out, like curbside pickup for food pantries or delivery options for food pantries. Just different things to meet the needs of our families during this time. Next slide. We also noticed that families really liked having someone to call and connect with over the phone to check on them. Families were feeling isolated, and so that phone call every couple of weeks just to check in, even though nothing maybe really changed with their child, they really appreciated having someone to talk to, share their concerns with, and we provided a lot of resource guides through the mail as an option for families. You know, they might not have needed anything particularly in that moment, but we wanted them to have the latest resources in the community so that if something did come up or they had a family or friend that needed something, they had those resources ready and were able to share them.
Thank you, Megan. Also, just to note the last bullet on the left side, the community partnerships that we have, that this idea of cross collaboration being very important to ensuring that children and families get what they need. There are several examples listed here. I would be remiss to not also mention Ames Public Libraries being a very key component of this work with book distributions that we're able to do at the meal sites, and also Ames Public Library supporting other partners in ensuring that books access to literacy programming through a virtual setting. All of that stuff was also happening alongside this work that Megan was outlining. Sadie, can you share a little bit more about what YSS did within the early childhood programs to meet this need and those lessons learned from 2020 that you're going to be moving forward with?
Yes, thank you, Malai. So it was a big change because we are used to providing in-home services. So to move from not being able to provide in-home services, at first it was a big change, but my team and I, they adjusted well and have been doing amazing, providing those Zoom visits or Google Hangouts, whatever virtual platform that's worked for families. So that's something that in the future, when we do get back to providing in-home visits, if it is needed in a random occurrence to do a virtual visit, that's something that we now have the option for. We've also adjusted to providing a drive up and a drop off. So our participants can get the diapers, wipes, soap, and laundry that they are needing from their families, or they're needing for their families. And we've also learned that working from home is something that is doable and that we can do well. So yeah, that is it. Thank you.
Thanks, Sadie. So if everyone can turn their attention to these themes that were brought out of how we worked together in 2020 and the lessons learned, they were really grouped by these themes, which I will have Lynn share a little bit more in detail. And I don't know if anyone noticed, but these were also the themes of the slides on raising readers. And we just thought it appropriate to bring it forward here under these themes of lessons learned that we'll be moving forward with in 2021 and beyond. Lynn, can you share a little bit more about the themes?
Sure. You heard from everyone today all of the ways that we collaborate for the last many years. But when the pandemic hit, our collaboration really brought us home. We were so fortunate to already have these strong connections and to be able to capitalize on the partnerships and relationships that we already have. So none of us felt alone. We each had a little bit different issues that we needed to deal with, but there were enough similarities that we were able to help each other out. Having that in advance of needing it is, it's precious. Passion and tenacity, this is what gets us through the tough times. And that's what sparks our creativity. So we all found different ways to reach the people that we serve, to nurture our staff so that they could continue with the good work that they were doing. Someone just mentioned being able to work from home. Those are the kinds of things that our passion just kept us moving forward, and we had the tenacity to figure out new ways of doing things. Learning together, again, no one was unaffected by this, and we put our heads together. We would call each other and say, how do you do this? And is this working for you? And just being able to have this group that we could share with, again, those relationships already there in place. Focus on our mission, families and children. Here's where that urgency that I mentioned earlier comes back into play. We couldn't afford, none of us could afford to just pass on 2020, as much as that probably appealed to many of us many days. But we just couldn't. We couldn't pause. We had to get busy really quickly, and we knew that our families and children depended on it, and we needed to figure it out quickly. Reducing barriers for services and resources. We thought we had barriers before 2020, and then suddenly we have this brand new thing that none of us had anticipated. And I think the takeaway from all of that is that our resilience paid off. You heard from everyone today that there are things that they figured out how to do. There are ways that they figured out how to serve their families and children that are going to be present moving forward. So we learned a lot. We put our resilience to good work, and we will move forward stronger and better.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Next slide, please. So here we are at the end of our story. Everyone has heard a little bits and pieces about our shared narrative and how we come together to support children, the early childhood piece being a very critical part of our campaign. At this moment, I would like to thank my partners, the panelists, and for all of their work contributing to Story County Reads. And I would like to pass this moment also on to Jenny for closing words and Q&A.
Thanks. Excuse me. Thank you so much, Malai, and the whole team. That was a very, not only informative, but so inspirational presentation about the work that's happening in Story County. And I loved the way you talked about the story of Story County with the chapters as well. We do have a couple of questions that we can ask and answer, but if you have other questions, if they're coming to you, please feel free to continue to put them into the Q&A box, because we do have a nice amount of time for some additional questions if you have any. So we have one that Dr. Beecher answered, but I thought it would be helpful to hear from a couple of other people as well on this. The question is, one of the issues that communities struggle with is how to keep partners at the table, especially in an initiative that spans many years. How have you been so successful in this regard?
Yeah, thank you, Jenny. So I would answer to this as the director of our campaign that yes, we hold many meetings, and in 2020 I had to shift all of that to Zoom. And so a part of being able to hold partners together is constant communication, whether that be in a meeting setting on Zoom, face-to-face, or also many emails through me. There's a lot of transparency within our team and within our group, and lots of spaces for the work to happen together. And so how we've been able to keep partners engaged is that I make room and make space for partners to do what they do well, and give credit, and sharing credit is also an important part of that. And so no partner is coming in doing work that they're uncomfortable with. All of the partners that are part of our campaign are doing work that they excel at. It's already part of their mission. We're just emphasizing or tweaking or realigning, whatever word it is that you want to use, what they do well, where they can excel, and showing what the pieces are where we have shared collaboration.
Great, thanks, Malai. Do any of the other presenters have anything to add to Malai's answer there? All right, thanks. I have a somewhat possibly related question, Malai, that's probably for you. I know you mentioned that you have redone your CSAP and you're planning to redo it again. I would be interested to hear sort of what it is in a point of time that makes you decide it's time for us to work on this plan again, update it, or like you said, it sounds like possibly do something quite different from the one you have had in the past. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
Yeah, part of it is prompted by 2020, obviously, because we know that there's some significant things that our team can do to address learning loss. We weren't expecting the pandemic to happen, obviously, but then part of that too is going through the Early Learning Nation process and really seeing how we can involve the community a little bit more in the goals that we're picking, or the strategies that we're picking. And so what's prompting the revision of the CSAP is, it's been 3 years. It's time to take another look at it because community needs have significantly changed. But then where are those spaces where we can involve the community a little bit more, and how we define what those strategies look like? So that's really what's prompting it. It's just that I feel like it's the right time for us to be doing it because the community needs are drastically different, but also because we have a model now in going through the Early Learning Nation of understanding, okay, these are the questions that we need to be asking of community stakeholders to be able to tease out those strategies a little bit finer with how they can be working. Also, the equity lens, very critically important. We have worked understanding equity before, but now I think we have a better understanding of what it is we need to lift up with using an equity lens.
Great, thank you. That makes total sense, Malai. And I think is a great example from some other communities as well of, the importance of a commitment to continuous improvement. Thank you. So we actually got a question from someone viewing on Facebook Live, and it was one that Dr. Beecher answered in the chat, but because that person may not have access to the chat, I'm going to just answer it as well here. It was a question about Lena and if there was a way to get access to some of the programs Lena offers. And so you can go to lena.org to learn more about what they do. You can also go to the Campaign for Grade Level Readings Community Learning for Impact and Improvement platform. It's CLIP. So you go to clipglr.org, and there is, if you search for Lena, some resources will pop up. There's one post in there right now that talks about an opportunity to apply for Lena Grow launch funds. And it looks like applications are open through May 15th. So if that's something you're interested in, based on what you learned today, definitely check out that opportunity. And thanks for the question through Facebook. Let me check to see other questions. We've got a couple in the Q&A box. One person asked, do you implement AmeriCorps members in your work, any of your partners?
Yes, so I'll speak to this, and I see a few more head nods. We utilize AmeriCorps members to implement a program called Iowa Reading Corps. This is for youth that are in K-3. So this is an older set than what we've presented on. AmeriCorps members are trained to do a literacy curriculum that is happening within the school. And so we have several elementary schools in Story County that participate in this program. AmeriCorps members are then utilized after their term of service in the school. Their then hours are still needed to fulfill their term of service, and they're utilized in the out of school and summer learning space to fulfill programming that happens out of school and in the summer space. I just answered myself. So yes, we do use AmeriCorps members within this component. I know our Ames Public Library also uses AmeriCorps members in many of their programs. Connie, do you use AmeriCorps with any of your programs?
We don't, we just help again, make that connection sometimes, because in the School of Education, of course, we have many pre-service teachers, college students who want to become teachers. And so they're kind of ideal for helping fill in some of these volunteer programs that we have.
All right, thanks. Any other questions? We have a little time. If anyone wants to add something to the Q&A box, we can answer any other questions that people have.
Jenny, I did see a question about metrics, and now I'm not seeing it in the chat.
Yeah.
I feel like some team members may have answered that, but can you read that question out if you can find it?
Yes, I will. I think it was related to the statistics that Dr. Beecher had mentioned about raising readers going from 60 to 80% of kindergartners considered ready. And someone asked about the how that was measured.
Okay, so something else to add about shared metrics that I do want to give nod to is that if you are a funded program through United Way of Story County, we are also collecting data through our Clear Impact Scorecard measurement tool, which does extend to early childhood programs. And so this tool or platform, if there are United Ways that are listening, you may have heard of this Clear Impact. It's aggregated. And so we can see the impact of programs that are happening at a very high level and how they're all pulling together under the shared agenda. And so this would apply actually also with our early childhood components too. So there is another measure there. In addition to the assessments that are given in kindergarten, we also have this tool. And then there's also ECI data that's also being collected where we can tell where there might be gaps or where things are really working in specific communities. So we do have several metrics that we look at and several measurement tools that we look at to be able to tell if we're moving the needle in a particular area or where we need to dig in and do a little bit more work.
That's great. Thanks, Malai, for that additional info and context. And I want to also mention, as some of the people in the chat did, that the increase from 60 to 80% is very impressive, and I think really a testament to the work that you all are doing in the community in readiness. So congratulations to all of you. We do have one other question about how programs are funded. I don't know if a few of you want to mention a little bit about where your funding comes from. And before you do, let me just mention, you may see the poll pop up on your screen. We'll just continue talking while those of you who are on the webinar answer that poll, but we really do appreciate you participating and answering the questions. We take your information and really think about how to improve our webinars. So thanks for your comments.
So with this question, I'm going to defer to the panelists first. United Way of Story County is a funder, and I have a very specific way to answer this, but I would like to toss it to the providers first, and then I'll fill in as a funder perspective.
Well, I can say we have often applied for foundation grants. That's something that we usually do together, and those can be big grants, like the one that we got for Small Talk, all the way to small grants for books. So a big part of all of our mission is access to books. So it's really trying to leverage both probably local and state and even kind of federal funders.
And I'm sure I speak for everyone. We also rely on our community heavily for our relationships with individuals, businesses. We get a lot of sponsorships of our programs from businesses locally, and a great deal of passion from individual donations and individuals working as volunteers in our organizations. We also get help through things like reduced rent. But we are scrambling pretty much all the time for increased funding and just to stay afloat. I think I probably speak for all of us.
Yeah, so I'll jump in. Nikki, go ahead. I see that you've unmuted.
No, I was just going to say real quick. So just to reiterate, so our board and ECI as a whole is state funded. So that is where our funds come from. And then, much like Malai, we then fund like YSS, and have that connection with Sadie and, you know, Micah programs, not First Five specifically, but other programs. So we are kind of that funder for the community. So that's kind of, I just wanted to add that part in there.
Thanks, Nikki. So the short answer is that it's diversified, which is, I think we're doing it right. We just have lots of diverse ways to pull in resources, and the resources for programs aren't restricted just to dollars. As Lynn was mentioning, that also includes people power. It includes books and materials. One thing that I do want to shout out to the Campaign for Grade Level Reading is the CLIP platform, because we were able to participate in a grant where Story County Reads collaborated with 2 other grade level reading communities in Iowa to put forth an application for First Book, and we were awarded something like $40,000 in First Book credits to be split through the 3 communities to be able to purchase new books for the early childhood programs that we do. I would not have known about that opportunity if it had not been for CLIP. I saw the opportunity. It was just a general question that I raised, and then another partner from another community said, "Hey, do you want to go in on this grant with me?" And I'm like, "Yes, absolutely." And so we did some collaboration with other grade level reading communities to be able to bring down, 40,000 in credits is a lot. And so then by dispersing that out, I was able to then touch 10 other nonprofits who are doing early childhood work. That was huge. And so this diversified funding and resources, it comes from so many different sources. And it also includes with pulling together with other grade level reading communities to bring down resources that benefit everybody.
Thank you, Malai. It's always great to have an advertisement for CLIP, a testimonial. So we appreciate hearing that for sure. It looks like we have addressed all the questions, unless anyone has a last burning question. So any last thoughts in the last couple of minutes before we close out today?
I just want to say thank you so much to the campaign for allowing us to share our story. And thank you to my partners for agreeing to be a part of this webinar. We're just very excited to be moving the needle in this work. All of us, as everyone can see, we have a lot of passion for early childhood. And so to be able to share on this great platform is an honor for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Malai. And I will go ahead and, oh, hold on. All right, I'm just trying to see if we have any questions, but it's just a comment talking about how wonderful you are. So, so I will add to that and agree that, you know, I've learned a lot from this presentation. It's been inspiring, as I say, and I really, really want to thank all of you, Malai, Lynn, Sadie, Connie, Jessica, Nikki, and Megan. Did I say Megan twice? Double thank you for your participation today, for sharing with us and inspiring us. We have if you want to just get a quick look of the upcoming webinars, I did want to mention that this first webinar today is the ARPA Bets Big on Accelerated Learning Recovery. So if you want to come back and join us at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Pacific Time, we'd love to see you again. And otherwise, check out some of these other webinars coming up, and I'm sure you'll find something that will be of interest. Thank you all for joining us today, and have a great afternoon.